I'm Donovan Kane. Welcome to my weekly podcast, where I read erotic stories for women to you. Why? Well, because sometimes you just want a man to read you a naughty story. This week's podcast is actually a story that's an erotic adventure. I wrote this adventure, and it's part of my Erotic Adventures of You series. It's called The Hidden Beach. I hope you enjoy it. On your erotic adventure today, you're going in search of a hidden beach. You know about where it's at, or where it's supposed to be, so you pull in the parking lot. Now, let's see where we go from here. The Hidden Beach. You are standing next to your car in a small parking lot on top of a high ridge overlooking a lake below. There is a thin line of trees on the edge of the ridge, and an overgrown footpath that leads through them. You begin to walk towards the path as you take in the beautiful view of the lake below, shimmering in the hot sun. You assume the path leads down to a secluded beach you have heard about, and you hope that it is really down there. You have heard that it is not a public beach, but more of a little-known remote cove with a sandy shoreline that people use when they want a little, well, privacy. You can feel the water on your body. You hope like hell that the rumors are right. You are walking on the short bit of path leading to the tree line. You are now at the trees, and you raise your hands to part the leafy branches between two of them and step on the path as the leaves hit you in the face. Shit. Your feet fly out from under you, and you fall flat on your ass. You are sliding on your back down the path like you are riding a muddy water slide. You are screaming at the top of your lungs, but somehow your mind still has time to take in the puffy white clouds above. Oh, look. That one looks like a turtle. You try to grab something to slow you down, but it just rips from the ground, and you keep on sliding. Thunk. The bottom of your feet hit a log stretched across the muddy path, and you come to an abrupt stop. You lay there on your back in a half squat, feet on a log, ass, back, and hair covered in mud, staring at the turtle in the sky. Well, one thing about your luck is that it's consistent. You bring your hands up to your face and see that your left hand has a death grip on a clump of weeds with purple flowers. You start laughing. Wow, what a girl has to do to get flowers these days. You sit up and see the promised cove stretched out before you. It's a crescent moon-shaped beach about a half-mile long. Not exactly one of the tropical beaches you see in magazines, but it is covered mostly in sand, with a few boulders and fallen trees mixed in. Perfect. You push yourself up with your elbows, being careful not to drop your beautiful bouquet of weed flowers. As you attempt to stand, your feet begin to slide once again. The flip-flop on your left foot gets stuck under the log, and you flip over the top, head first into the mud, again. Rolling the rest of the way to the beach and coating your mud-covered shell in a light dusting of sand, you stand up slowly and look down and can't help but notice your striking resemblance to a sprinkle-covered chocolate-coated ice cream bar, and you start laughing. One of those laughs that builds and builds until you are laughing so hard you can't catch your breath, and tears are running down your mud-covered face. The only thing that you're missing to exactly resemble the ice cream bar on a stick is the stick. Thank God the log stayed where it was. As you laugh hysterically, you walk toward the gentle lapping shoreline. Kick off your one remaining flip-flop, gently set your hard-won bouquet of weed flowers down in the sand, and begin to peel the muddy clothes off your body. You pull your wet, muddy tank top up over your head and plop it down on the ground next to your beautiful weed bouquet. You reach behind your back and pull the ripcord to your bikini top. That's what you used to call it as a little girl, and the image just stuck. After throwing that on the pile as well, you put your thumbs inside the waistband of your shorts and bikini bottom at the same time and push them down to your ankles. Stepping out with your left foot, you use your right foot to kick the muddy mess onto the top of the pile. Your hysterical laughter gets even more intense as you look down and see the contrast of your bare skin to the mud-covered parts. You reach around and find that the mud shot up the leg holes of your shorts and up the crack of your ass. Nice. You run into the water and dive in with a kind of belly flop, and the cold water shocks the laugh to a stop. You quickly stand up and gasp to catch your breath from the intensity of the cold. As you suck in a huge gaping mouth of air and turn toward the beach to run back, you hear clapping and see through blurred vision a man sitting on shore beside a boulder. "I give the belly flop a 6, says the blurry image, "but the mudslide performance with the log-assisted dismount was a solid 10. You stand there in knee-deep water, completely naked under the sun, still mostly covered in mud, hair caked with a mixture of mud and sand. Your mouth is gaping and moving, trying to form words, but all that comes out are a few high-pitched grunts and a whistling squeal. The man is sitting, legs bent, with elbows on his knees. He appears to be lean and deeply tan, with a short military-type haircut. He flashes you a big smile and says, "Don't say much, do you? Bet you could use a cold beer after that performance." You stare in surprised wonder as he stands up, and you see that he is completely naked, with no tan lines. You know this because you are zeroed in on where one should be. You watch as the man walks to his cooler, bends over, giving you a perfect side shot of his butt, and pulls out 2 beers. He stands, holding up a cold, icy beer in each hand, and says, "I'll be right there." Then he combination jogs and walks through the shallow water, his body flexing like in some actual beer commercial, while his substantial cock swings much like a pendulum to the beat of the background music in the commercial. You instantly think, that commercial would sell an awful lot of beer. He wades right up to your bare-naked body in the knee-deep water, and with his pendulum hanging about 2 feet away, he says, "Hold out your hand," as he cracks open a beer and passes it to you. You think, "Oh, beer, right. Name's Jake." You somehow manage to mumble yours in reply, and he asks, "So, how do you like my beach? Minus the entrance ramp, of course." And you look him in the eye and reply, "Gorgeous. Are you sure it's yours?" "Yep, I claimed it myself." "And how did you do that?" "Left my butt mark up in the sand, kind of like marking my territory." "Won't your butt mark disappear?" "Yep, that's why I have to come out here so much, to refresh it." After a few minutes you find it hard to believe, but you have been standing there in knee-deep water, butt naked, talking to a gorgeous man while drinking his beer, and you are completely comfortable, to the point that enough time has passed that you have both finished your beer. "Here, let me take that for you." Jake fills both of the cans with water. "Just got to give them enough weight so I can hurl them up on the beach. I can get them later." After said hurling, Jack turns back around to you, claps his hands together, and says, "Now, let's do something about this, situation." And you say, "What situation?" "The mud-encrusted look you have going on there." You realize you have forgotten all about it, and you say, "Oh, my God, I must look like a wreck." "Well, you certainly look like you've been in one with a big mud puddle." He holds out his left hand and says, "Here, hold my hand for balance." Without hesitating, you take his offered hand. With his right hand, he starts splashing the cold water up on your bare ass and wiping the mud off. His touch is so surprising that a tingle shoots through your body, coming to a stop right between your legs. My God, this stuff is like dried-on cement. I'm going to have to go with Plan B. He quickly takes his right arm and puts it underneath your shoulders, and puts his left arm underneath your knees, picking you up and cradling you as easily as if you were a child. You look up into his smiling face as you reach around his neck with your left arm. You can feel the tip of his now hard cock on your lower back. He looks down with that big smile and says, "You ready? Hold your breath." "What?" "Hold your breath. Pinch your nose." Well, there's a new one. You think. 1, 2, 3. And he dunks you under the water, head and all. He brings you back up. Keep your nose pinched. Down you go with the splash again. Up and down, up and down. Then he says, "Hold on to my neck." Tilting your head back into the water, he runs his fingers through your hair, cleaning the mud out. Then he takes his right hand and palms your hair back off of your forehead, just as if he had given you a bath. Kick your feet a little and get it out from between your toes. There. All better. Now, off to the drying rack you go. He starts walking toward shore as he cradles you in his arms. You can feel his hard cock moving back and forth as it pokes into the small of your back. "Would you have dinner with me?" The guy just gave you a bath, with his dick poking you in the middle of your back, and he wants to know if you want to have dinner with him. "Yes," you say. And you ask, "When?" And he says, "Now, of course." "Now?" "Yeah, I brought some fruit in my cooler." He walks right up onto the beach with you still in his arms and starts to bend over and lay you in the sand. "Oh, no, wait. We don't want more sand on your ass." Then, smiling at you, he says, "Hold on," and throws you over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes. Your breasts are rubbing on his back now, and your face is just inches away from his perfectly tanned butt. You instinctively wrap your arms around his waist to hold on, and find out there is definitely something to hold on to. Again you squeal, drop your hands in embarrassment, and just hang there. He bends over and grabs a towel out of his bag, whip-cracks it with one hand, and spreads it out on the sand. Standing up, he brings you down in front of him. "Your seat for dinner, my lady." And he helps you down on the fluffy towel. He turns and grabs a small container out of the cooler and lays on his side next to you, resting on his elbow. The man places the opened container of fruit on your stomach, fishes out a small piece of watermelon, and when you reach for it, he says, "Your hands are all covered in sand again. How do you take care of yourself?" And when you go to answer, "Very well, thank you," he pops the piece of watermelon into your mouth and says, "No problem. This is a full-service restaurant." After a nice snack of assorted fruit and some fun, laughing conversation, he closes the container on your stomach, stands up, and puts it back into the cooler. Looking at you once again, he holds up a plastic bottle. "Since we've washed off your protective mud crust, we better put some tanning oil on you, so you don't fry like a lobster. Flip over on your stomach." Without hesitation, you flip over, your bare ass to the sky. You look up at the ridge above and think how far you've come since you stood up there just a little while ago. You wait for his hands to touch you with the oil, and instead you feel him straddle your bare ass, cock once again in the middle of your lower back. He doesn't put all of his weight on you, but you can certainly feel him sitting there. Your ass clenches involuntarily. "Do you mind if I rub this on you?" You let out a not-so-sexy snort. "You're sitting on my bare ass. I think I'm okay with a little oil." You got a point there. He begins by lightly putting some oil on the back of your neck and massaging it in. That feeling of having a neck massage, along with the fact that he has to bend forward to do so, pressing his cock into the top of your ass, sends goosebumps all over your body. He now moves his hands to your shoulders, working his way to your upper arms, down to your elbows, to your forearms, and all the way down to the tops of your hands. leaning forward far enough that you can feel the moisture from the tip of his cock drip on to the top of your ass. Just as you feel the initial drip, he reaches around with the palms of his hands and works the oil into the palms of your hands and in between your fingers. He then removes his hand and reaches for the bottle again and squirts a nice stream down the center of your spine. Oil. He squirts a nice stream of oil down the center of your spine. He then gets up on his knees and works the oil into your back and down to your ass as he drags the tip of his cock down the crack of your ass and between your legs down the center of your thighs, working the oil into your ass cheeks. And, with one fingertip, make sure that your ass crack itself is protected from the violent rays of the sun. You let out a low whimper, and he says, "Don't worry. We're not going to let that pesky sun get to anything." And he works his hands down from your upper thighs, down the backs of your knees, down your calves, and on his knees, down by your feet, he actually works the oil into the bottoms of your feet. When he drags a fingernail down the bottom of your left foot, you about kick him in the face. "Whoa, a little sensitive there." "I hate being tickled," you say. "Do you hate being tickled everywhere, or just your feet?" You reply, as you start to laugh again. He crosses his arms and grabs both of your ankles and says, "Now, time to flip it." And he flips you like a roasting chicken before you know it. "Oh my God," you say. "I feel like I'm on a grill." "Well, you certainly look good enough to eat." You look up and see him standing over you, that beautiful tan body of his, that lovely smile, and that wonderful cock looking up at the clouds like you were on the path. He squats down and straddles you right at the hips. You're pretty sure that if you put a little thought into it, you could actually have one of those fabled orgasms where no one's even touching you in the right place. But before you have time to put much more thought into that, he gives another squeeze on the bottle and squirts all over the front of you. He then puts the bottle down and starts to rub it into your upper chest and your breasts, then works his flat palms up to your shoulders and out to your hands that you are holding above your head. When he leans forward to reach your hands with his face is right in front of yours. He smiles and gives you a kiss right on the forehead. Then he sits up again and drags his fingers over your breast to the top of your stomach and begins to rub it in as he moves down. Straddling you, he has his hands on the tops of your hips, and you suddenly realize something. "Hey, your oil smells like strawberries." "Mm-hmm. Tastes like it, too." "Tastes like it?" you ask. He proudly holds up the bottle. "See? It says so right here. Edible." He leans forward, placing his lips lightly on your left nipple. Sucking, he pulls it into his mouth. Lifting his head back, he releases it with a pop and says, "Yep, that's strawberry, all right." You can feel your nipples tighten to hard points as he turns around and straddles you backwards. He squirts more on the front of your thighs and lower legs, and he gives one final drizzle of oil right on your clit. And you can feel the oil run down the front of your now drenched pussy. And with that, you can't help it. You reach up with both hands and grab that nice ass. "Hey, let's not get handsy, lady." You instantly pull your hands back and realize he's just kidding. He gets off of you, clicks the bottle closed, puts it back into his bag, and you think, "Oh my God, where's he going?" But nothing to fear. He comes back, and standing over you, you watch his body lower to kneel between your legs. He places a hand on each of your ankles and slowly drags his hands up to your knees working the oil in, and moves his hands to the bottoms of your thighs and rubs it into your thighs until it gets right up to the creases of your crotch. He then sits up on his knees and says, "Do you mind?" "Mind what?" you ask. "I love strawberries." And he looks directly at your pussy that is by now drenched, and not just with oil. And you say, "Oh, please do." As he leans forward, you feel the tip of his tongue barely touch your clit, and you reach up and grab the tops of his shoulders, pulling him down. He takes his tongue away and puts it at the bottom of your pussy, and slowly licks upwards, so that he can get all of the strawberry oil and all of you at the same time. You feel him swallow, and you know you can't wait much longer. He then puts his lips on your clit and lightly sucks, sucking and releasing, and running his tongue on the bottom of your clit at the same time, until with no restraint left in your entire body, your pussy tightens, and you let go with a pulsating orgasm as he sucks it all in and swallows. A deep growl escapes your throat, and you look down and notice that you've left nail marks in his shoulders. He looks up at you and asks, "So, how do you like my beach now?" You give a little laugh and say, "I give it a solid 9.5. 9.5? What's a guy got to do to get a 10? Bring me flowers next time, so I don't have to pick them myself." The end. I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast, The Hidden Beach. Make sure you subscribe and follow, because there's a new adventure every week. This erotic audio adventure, along with most on this podcast, are also available as audiobooks at audible.com. You can visit me at my website at donovankane.com, and you can email me at donovan@donovankane.com. Thank you for listening. I'm Donovan Kane. For now, goodbye.